This segment has been sponsored by Pro Bikes Caribe. Pro Bikes Caribe, get yours today. Before we get into today's interview, hear a little bit about the book from the author themselves.
Hi, I'm Princess Auguste, and I'm the author of From a Dark Place, and I'm from St. Lucia. And From a Dark Place is a collection of poetry that deals with mental health issues such as depression, and is available on Amazon and is for a general audience. Thank you.
Greetings, listenership. Welcome to TLC, Tropical Literature Creatives, the podcast where we interview authors of Caribbean heritage about themselves and about their literary works. Today we have with us Princess Onaika Auguste, author of the book From a Dark Place, a work of poetry. Princess is known for by a number of titles: writer, historian, cultural critic, fellow podcaster, speaker, consultant, researcher, editor. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Princess Onaika Auguste. Princess, welcome to Tropical Literature Creatives.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, thank you very much for agreeing to be interviewed. Princess, you're from the island of St. Lucia, correct?
Yes, I am.
If it is that we were
Helen of the West.
Oh, say that again.
Helen of the West.
Helen of the West. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, imagine it is that we encounter each other at the airport and I'm coming to St. Lucia for the first time. What would you recommend that I try, or what place would you recommend that I visit when I am in St. Lucia?
Okay, there are several places that I think that you should visit. Because my family is from Soufrière, I think you should go to Soufrière and visit the Diamond Falls, the Sulphur Springs, the world's only driving volcano, and Chassenay Beach. Soufrière has other different beaches besides Anshasnay, but and because because it has this old city town vibe-ish, historical town vibe-ish, that I think you should visit Soufrière. That's number one place you should visit. I also think that if you come in January, or January, February, for the Nobel Laureate Festival, because we have two Nobel laureates, Sir Arthur Lewis, who is economics, 1979, Derek Walcott, literature, although Trinidad claims him, but he's St. Lucian. Literature, 1992. You should visit Walcott Place. Is usually open during that time. That's when Derek Walcott has Derek Walcott's old house where he grew up with all his works and paintings and stuff. I also think that you should visit Ballenbush Estate, which is in the south of the island. It's an old former plantation estate, and lots of fruits and vegetables and historical, because I love history, so I love historical aspects. So of course you should visit the Mon Fortune Museum and Art Gallery on the Mon Fortune, which is a place in Castries capital.
Okay, I'm glad that you mentioned those things, especially the part about Derek Walcott, because there seems to be something with the Caribbean islands that, there's a little bit of, internal, I don't want to, maybe rivalry is the best word that comes to mind when it is that I think about these things. Like with Trinidad and Barbados, there's always this thing about flying fish. I know you mentioned that little thing about Derek Walcott there. So, there's a little bit of, contention, you're saying that he's ours, and then, St. Lucians are saying, no, he's ours. And yeah, so yeah, that's just something with the islands. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I noticed that you have that you're very interested in history, and before the interview started, you mentioned that those are one of the areas that of study that you are involved in. What other topics have you been involved in terms of your studies?
Well, I have been involved in religion, theology, basically biblical studies, and so dealing with the Bible, New Testament and Old Testament, and what the Jews call the Hebrew Bible. And usually when my focus is usually ancient and medieval history. And so when you study Bible, it actually overlaps with the history of the Greco-Roman society and the engineer East. And I also do talk about gender and sexual violence.
Okay. I mean, those are interesting topics. And I mean, a lot of the things that when it is that you get into it, they make for good reading.
Yes.
Yeah. Are you a full-time writer, or is this something that you do on the side?
I am not a full-time writer yet. I do not make a full income yet, but that's the goal eventually. But so for now, it's just something on the side. But the goal is to become a full-time writer.
I mean, from your research and observations, is it possible for someone from the Caribbean to go into writing full-time? Is it practical?
Some will say no, but I think um, if you want something bad enough, you can achieve it. And I think with the invention of the internet now and social media, it's it's not easy, but it's easier than it was back even 10 years ago. And now you can self-publish. So
Oh,
you don't always have to wait on a traditional publisher. Although I believe that for me, eventually for my next book, I want a traditional publisher.
so your work right now is self-published?
Yes, self-publish.
How do you find, how is this your first self-published book, or are there other books that you'd have written but just they haven't been published as yet?
I have other stories and stuff written, but they're not published. But this is my first book published.
Okay, to get the book self-published, is it that you did it on your own, you did your own research, or is it that you had like guidance or consultation from someone to assist you in doing so?
Well, I got it published on Amazon Kindle Direct, so it's kind of easy to get your work published on Amazon Kindle Direct. But you don't just publish any work and edited on a poor cover. I had to go through numerous edits and a final proofread, and I decided I had numerous of covers to decide from. So you still have to hire a book a designer and a editor, of course.
Uh, uh, I'm just curious in terms of, well, these days, a lot of, well, artificial intelligence is gaining popularity. A lot of persons use, for example, tools like Midjourney to generate artwork, etc. Do you think that's technology that you would employ in your future writings if it is that you haven't already?
The thing about artificial intelligence, AI, there's benefits to it to help you with prompts and exactly how to write a sentence and stuff like that, and what kind of cover you may want. But to use it for the final book or whatever, I don't think I would. I would just use it for ideas.
Okay, fair enough. And a number of articles that I've come across actually promote that creatives themselves shouldn't really use it like to do the heavy lifting, but rather use to generate ideas for work that they have to do to give them guidance. And I see
Yeah.
that's the direction that you're going in.
Yeah.
One of the titles that you had or and that I introduced to you as being an editor, where your work is concerned, do you edit your own work or did you get the assistance of someone else to do it?
I got the assistance of someone else to do it. I don't edit my own work. I could edit anybody else's. Usually I edit school school papers and research papers and these dissertations or thesis. So I haven't edited a story or poems yet. I can edit everybody else's work but mine. So I decided that it was best for me to go that route.
Uh, and that does make sense because I've spoken with a number of other authors, and the general consensus is that, you don't edit your own work because sometimes you're so close to it that, in
Yes.
some instances you miss certain things or you don't convey an idea, in a way that others may receive it because in your mind, that's the idea and you see it very clearly, but it's just not articulated so that other persons may interpret it the way that you would like to. Is that the
Yeah.
case?
Yes, that's the case also. And also, I'm a poor editor when it comes to my work. Maybe because I'm close to it, but yeah.
No, and I could get that. I can get that. It's something that's very close to your heart. It's something very close to your heart. As a writer, how do you deal with criticism? Because I mean, you do a piece of work. Sometimes persons like it, sometimes don't, and sometimes persons could be vocal about it. How do you deal with criticism?
You know, the saying is not what you say, is how you say it.
Hmm.
So it depends on how it's said. Yeah. If you're coming to me and telling me, oh, you're not a good writer, or this is trash, when there are other people who like it, I will not take the criticism well. But if you come to say to me, say that, oh, maybe you could elaborate or show instead of tell or something like that, then I will take it. Just depends on the criticism, how the person says it.
Okay. No, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. Because if it is that the person really has your intention or really wants to see you flourish or wants your work to be better, I mean, they would be particular about what areas of your work could be improved or otherwise. However, if a person wants to
Yeah.
cause harm, well, then, like you said, they may just come out and say, yeah, that's trash, and just be general and not be specific or helpful in their criticism.
Yeah.
All right. In terms of your book, I mean, all I just know is that it's a book of poetry, and we've just glossed, over the topic so far. Can you tell us a little bit about your book? I mean, not too much because we want to go and buy the book to see your writings, etc. But can you tell us a little bit about your book in your own words?
Well, it's a book of poetry poems that I've written over the years. Um, I suffer from depression, so these are poems about me going through mental health crisis and depressive episodes. And there are some that are positive that show that I could climb out of the mental health and depressive crisis. So they're mostly about my mental health journey.
Okay. And one of the things that our writer who I interviewed today told me is that sometimes the best kind of therapy is just a pen and a piece of paper. So to just get it on paper that it does help. And can you say that it did help you putting pen to paper?
Yes, it did help me. It did.
Okay. How has the reception been for your book? I have persons when they read it have been able to identify with um the writings that you have done and say, here's what I could identify with being in a place like that. And what you said it made me feel less alone and it helped me. Has the reception been like that?
I haven't gotten someone who said that, but I have gotten good reception. People like who don't suffer from depression actually enjoyed the poetry and said that it was interesting, and they like the contrast between the poems that show me in this depths of darkness to the other poems that show there is light in the thing. So mostly the reception I got was from people who don't suffer from mental health issues, but who it helped them understand more.
No, and I like that. I like the reception, how it is that, I mean, you say that, darkness and light, but I think I can appreciate how it is that, the humanity of the thing, because not everyone is going to be, happy-go-lucky all the time. That there are times when it's just difficult. And I'm glad that you're able
Yeah,
to put pen to paper and just show the humanity of a person, of an individual, and show that, there are sides. I'm here, I'm a person, but sometimes I'm sunny and cherry, and sometimes I'm dealing with stuff, and I'm not less of a person. In fact, I am a person. I'm a real person because I experience these things. So
yeah.
I I like that, and I appreciate that. Obviously, you are no stranger to writing. Before when we had this interview, you had directed me to a link, and I had seen a whole bunch of articles that you had put together on a number of topics. Even before the interview, I was going through one, and it was really interesting to me. and it was about a ruling by a court that, where a guy sexually assaulted a woman, the woman was unconscious, and it spoke about how it is that the sentencing for the individual, it wasn't as harsh as some person should have been. And what I didn't expect is later in the article, you went on to draw parallels within, the Bible and spoke about how similar situations took place. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, man, I didn't look at it like that because I'm seeing, the parallels, and I'm seeing that to myself, this is interesting. So I just went back to that to just indicate that you're no stranger to writing. It's something you've been doing
Yes,
quite some time, and it seems like that's something that you're very, very capable of. And
thank you.
how did you get to that level? What did you do exercises? Did you go to writing classes? Is it something that you were naturally good at?
Well, I've been writing since I was like 5. Um, I think I wrote stories in old notebooks that they're now gone. um, um, I wouldn't say my professors think I'm a good writer. My former professors in university think I'm a good writer. Um, I, I don't necessarily, I'm an okay writer. My professors think I'm a good writer. There are other people I think I'm a good writer. There are other people who think I'm better at um, nonfiction articles than I am stories. And there are other people who think I'm great at all. So I think I agree with those people who think I'm better at nonfiction and historical fiction
Mm-hmm.
than that I am on other genres. But there are people who think I'm good at whatever I write. So just depends on who the person is.
Okay. But in terms of your development as a writer, you've been doing it for some time, but that's just it. Just practice, 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 or is it your better writings come from, when you're in a certain frame of mind, when it is that, you drink your coffee, there's no one around and you just get the best out of you.
It's a bad thing what I do, but I write when I'm inspired. If I get an idea, I write, which is a bad thing. Because you need a consistent. Now I'm in a PhD program. I now have a consistent time to sit down to write for my dissertation, everything like that. So yeah, but when I'm writing articles or when I was writing my book of poetry or writing stories is usually because I'm inspired at the time.
Okay. Everyone has their style. I guess this just works for you.
Yeah, but it's not. I believe it's not a good style. So, because you do have to sit down to write, have a time to write.
In terms of your books, as it's one book that you've written so far, do you have any intentions of writing others?
Yes, I do. I have a whole list of stories that I want to write. I'm actually was working on before I started my PhD on a historical romance series called Ben in Rome, and it takes place in ancient and ancient Britain. So actually have a series planned for it, but I'm trying to focus on my PhD. So yeah, yes. I also have published a book chapter. Um, it was a book chapter on women in the Sam Rami and Robert Tabert universe, which is like Xena and Hercules back in the 90s, talking
Mm-hmm.
about them and comparing them to women in the ancient world and how accurate that portrayal in those shows were of women in the ancient world. And I'm also working on another book chapter dealing with Wonder Woman and sexual violence. So
It seems that your material is pretty contemporary because I know right now, the media is in a phase where almost everything is superhero related also or mythology related. and I see that you're translating that into your writing. That is interesting.
Yes. Yeah.
Uh,
I'm a big lover of superhero and mythology.
uh,
Yeah.
can you tell me a little bit about the podcast that you do?
Well, it's called Badass Women of History. And I deal with women who have been slut shamed, who have been erased or vilified from history. And it's mostly women from the ancient world and medieval to the early period. And my latest episode was Boudica. I haven't uploaded yet because I'm trying to focus on my PhD right now. So
Okay.
it's kind of, yeah.
Yeah, the PhD seems to be the decimal point. Nothing happens until after the PhD.
Yeah. Or at least until I get a briefer doing it. Yeah. Yeah.
But how come, why do you choose to make the transition from writing into podcasting?
I felt that um more people will hear my thoughts than would read my thoughts. And these days, people don't seem to have a attention span. I'm watching this series on YouTube with this woman, this girl who does reviews of albums from artists like Beyonce and Madonna. And then if a song, her attention span is not long. So she was reviewing a Madonna album and I can't remember which album was it. I think it was Ray of Light. And she found the song was too long. It was only like 5 minutes, but she found 5 minutes too long. So I realized that these days people don't have much of an attention span to read or to read. So they more want to listen. And even when they're listening, they don't have a short long attention span.
Okay. And so that inspired you to just change your method of delivery from what it is that you were doing before to what it is that you're attempting right now with your podcast.
Yes. I still write, but and I still write to try to connect the two. So yeah.
Okay. Well, I have to ask, in terms of reception, how have persons been receiving it? Do they welcome the change in style of delivery? Do they say, keep on doing more of this, or is it too early to tell?
It's too early to tell, but those who have who do listen have told me they like they it's so far so good and only could get better from there. That's what they said. And to keep practicing.
Okay, that's criticism we could take. That's criticism we could
Yeah.
take.
Yeah.
Um, one of the things that you mentioned before is that your writings that, it was something very personal. You'd mentioned stuff how it is that you deal with depression and how it is reflected in some of your writings. Um, how would you feel if it is that your writing, your book of poetry, were to be used by persons as a tool to help them with, things that they deal with it in cases for persons who may also suffer from depression? If it is that you could give them your writings and say, this is a person who also deals with depression, look at their writings, go through it, and you could see that, depression, people do suffer from it, but at the same time, there are other sides to it as well. How would you feel if it is that your book were to be adopted into treating depression?
I will be interested and surprised. It would be interesting. I'd be surprised, but a good surprise. I'd be surprised like my work is used for that. And I hope it can help somebody. Um, that's what I'll be happy about it.
Okay.
Surprised and happy
And as you
because it
should,
gets to help somebody else. Yeah.
in terms of books, if it is that you want to get copies of your books, where can we do so?
You can go on Amazon and order some copies on Amazon, Kindle, Amazon.com.
Okay. Do you have any like hard copies for persons around you who might see and who may want as well?
Not yet, but the plan is to get some hard copies, offer copies, so that to get to sell, to give, or to give to people that may want one.
No. It's being a writer and having to promote and market your book. uh, What lessons did you learn in having to do these things?
Marketing is like a second career, a second job. their job. So that's the first thing you need to put in mind when you're marketing, that it's writing is a job. If you're not a full-time writer, your job is a job. And if you, like me, doing a PhD, that's a job. So marketing, it will be your third, fourth job. So treat it like a job. And if you can afford to hire someone out.
Okay, fair enough.
That's, yeah.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, that brings me to the questions that I have at this time, Princess. Thank you very much for agreeing to be interviewed. Thank you for sharing your insights about your writings and also advice that we can take about being more human. Is there anything that you want to share with listeners before the interview comes to an end?
No, but visit St. Lucia. We're the hell of the West.
All right, listenership, you heard it here first. Princess Sonika Auguste, writer of From a Dark Place, a book of poetry. Thank you very much for your time, ma'am, and we look forward to hearing more about your
Thank you.
progress, the other books that you'll be launching, and your continued success.
Thank you very much.
Okay, you take care.
Yeah.
You've been listening to TLC, Tropical Literature Creators. If you've heard something of interest or something you like, reach out to us. Reach out to our authors. Follow us on social media. We look forward to hearing from you.